Rugby Round 8 predictions brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for rugby predictions and opinion, and this is done in association with the Seawolf Pod. So if you're listening to this on the pod, hey, don't worry, Raymond is right here. How are you doing, sir?
Hello, Paul. Hello, everybody. Good to be here. I am Raymond from Seawolf Pod, and I will say no more.
Say no more? Oh dear, this is going to go, because I'm going to give the audio again, so for those of you who want to, who can listen to the audio rather than video, check out Seawolf Pod, because it will be published up there. So, let's quick recap over the table first, because, hey, if I've got a Seawolf guy on here, and Seawolf at the top of the table, so why not gloat while you can, hey?
Yeah.
So Seawolf top of the table, played 6 games with 25 points, and then 1 point behind them, the Glendale Raptors have played 5 games, so one less on 24 points. And those two really are the runaway teams this season, aren't they? The top two.
Yeah. Third place right now is Austin Elite, but, you know, they're, I don't want to say far behind, but there's a pretty big gap between the points that they have and then the top 2 teams. Yeah,
so they're 7 points back after a 1 point gap between the top 2. 2 points behind them are Utah Warriors, and they make up the top 4. The top 4, remember, are the 4 that go into the finals playoffs, so the semi-finals, and obviously the final after that.
I was going to say, if I can, real quick, that even though Seattle's at the top, we're not undefeated. We've never beat the Glendale Raptors. They may be number 2, but they're undefeated, and we still haven't beat them. That's
very true. That's what Glendale Raptors did come into the season as favourites and have shown why. So that's your top 4. NOLA Gold sit in 5th, 3 points behind Utah Warriors, having played the same number of games. And then down in 6th, the San Diego Legion, but they have a game in hand. So whilst we're on 11 points, they're 4 points behind Utah Warriors with a game in hand. So if they win that game with a tri-bonus point, they would leap above them into 4th. And then in last place, we have the Houston SaberCats, having played 6 games on 9 points. And they're the only team that's really out of the finals reckoning. The other 6 teams are still fighting it out.
It's unfortunate, too, they're out because they showed an ability to scrum with the best against Seattle last weekend.
Yeah, I mean, here's a team that may have only won 1 game, but they've got 5 bonus points, which shows you that a lot of that they're either scoring 4 or more tries, or they're staying within 7 points of their opposition. So it shows you that whilst they've lost 5 games, their points difference is only minus 19. Which shows you that actually those games have been close. Whereas if you look at NOLA Gold, who are 3 points ahead of them on 12 points, they have a points difference of minus 72. It shows that those games have been, whilst they've won one more game than Houston SaberCats, their games have been a bit more blowouty. And there's been some bigger margins there.
I was going to add that I really like the point system that leads to playoffs in Major League Rugby. The last league that we had was just pure points to the end, and the top 2 teams played at the end, and nobody knew that the winner of that last match actually didn't win the whole thing. It was kind of confusing, so I think MLR is a lot more clear.
Absolutely, and on a slight segue, the Pro Rugby, which is the league that's... and I've just realised that, Raymond, I've got the wrong caption for you. Everyone thinks you're called Herman at the moment, but now, there we go. Now we've got the correct one with your Twitter tag.
Thank you.
So the not only that, but we all thought it was dead, but it looks like it is going to come back and haunt us a little bit, as he has sued the USA Rugby today. Let's hope that nothing comes of that, really. But yeah, as I say, that has happened as well. So much more interesting and much more fun stuff is the games that are going to happen this weekend.
Yes.
So I was going to say the game that kicks us off, but it doesn't, because there are 2 games kicking off at the same time. This I think is probably a first.
Yeah.
So first up, equal first up, is Glendale Raptors hosting Houston SaberCats, 1st versus 7th.
Yeah.
Is there much to say about this game?
Well, I've got Raptors by 1 try on this. I think there is something to say, and I don't think it can be viewed purely in terms of their standings. And, my thoughts on this is that, the Raptors are going to continue their season-long undefeated streak. but not with the same strength that they've had, considering to the Eagles, they lost many players. You can't lose 6 starters and avoid the consequences. And the SaberCats showed an ability to pressure Seattle for 40 minutes. And I think with Raptors losing as many as they will, it's going to be closer than we expect.
Well, okay, I've decided to go with form, and I've backed Glendale by 15. As I say, they came into this as the most settled, the most side, and they've shown that by winning all their games so far. Houston SaberCats they had the biggest preseason, but don't seem to have come in as with the same combinations kind of working for some reason. And yeah, they've been disappointing, considering actually as the Houston Huns, they were the people that kicked this whole thing off. They were the guys who really came out first and said, "Hey, we're going to have this professional league and blah blah blah." Now it wasn't called Major League Rugby at that point, but it kind of evolved into this. So it's a shame to see the guys who instigated all this, at least publicly, end up coming last on the table. But yeah, no, I can't see anything other than Glendale win.
I think off the pitch, Houston can be proud of some of the fan engagement they've been having. They've had good attendance and good engagement on social media, so I think long term that's good for growth. They have some really good players. I think their fly half, Sam Windsor, is top notch, and their winger, Joshua Vithi, is pretty good. But real quick, Paul, before we jump on any other game, I just want to say which players are going to the Eagles from Glendale, and that will kind of go into my prediction of Raptors winning by 7. So Glendale is losing inside center Bryce Campbell, scrum half Sean Davies, hooker Dylan Fawcett, lock Ben Landry, fly half Will McGee, and flanker John Quill. Obviously, those are pretty strong forwards that I just named, but the fact that they're losing their 9, 10, 12, I mean, that's kind of the heart of an offense for a team. So that's why I have a closer scoreline, but I don't have any doubts that the Raptors will beat the Cats.
Cool. And yes, you probably have a better insight and knowledge than I'm going on this one. But hey, that's been my I've got the way I do predictions and have always done so is trying to look at is much more of a bigger picture view.
Right.
So you're going closer than me, but we've both gone with Glendale. Next up, Houston Elite host Seattle Seawolves. This is your team.
Oh yeah.
One of the big things we've been talking about with Tony and Grant and Rob has been the travel from the West Coast teams down into Texas or Louisiana with all the heat and humidity down there. How are the Seattle Seawolves going to cope, having travelled from lovely fresh air up in Seattle down to the muggy heat of the Deep South?
Conditions are definitely important, especially when we're talking about tough conditions where Seattle's not going to have the home field advantage, which is pretty important, as we've seen in Major League Rugby. Seattle is, I believe, is it 3-0 on the road right now, or 2-0? I'm just blanking on if it was 2 or 3, but they're undefeated on the road, and
2-0.
2-0. So that's against NOLA and against the Cats. I think that Khalifi is not going to be in our front row because he's with the Eagles right now, and our front row is probably, in my opinion, the most susceptible to the heat with all the scrummaging that goes on. I have more to say about this, but what are your thoughts on the conditions?
So, and the other point here is that Austin Elite have won all their home games 3-0 currently, and Seattle did beat Houston SaberCats last time out in Houston 27 or 7-20. So they have proven they can go down to Texas and win. So this is down the road from there. Now, I don't know if they flew all the way back to Seattle and through and back again, or whether they've had a week-long tour and been out partying all week. But either way, I think they're going to be able to cope with this. So they've shown they can last week. They've also gone down and won in New Orleans. So both their away games have been in this Deep South. I think they've shown they can. But I do think that being in Austin, that's going to narrow the margin down.
Yeah. I've got Seawolves actually same margin as the last game we just talked about. I've got the Seawolves by 7. I think the Elite are getting better for sure. But, Seattle's already clinched a playoff spot just with the point system and how it works. We're going to miss Khalifi as well as flanker Talu Tau from Hawaii, I believe, who got called up late. And then Barkwell, our hooker, and our player coach, Phil Mack, are not going to be with us because they're with Canada this weekend. I'm guessing that Shalom Suniula will start at 9 because he has experience as a halfback internationally, or maybe even Tiberio, the winger, who was seen filling in at halfback in our last match, maybe in preparation for that. But, the Elite are improving, and I want to give kudos to them with that closer scoreline because I think it would be bigger if they hadn't seen so much improvement from them. And they're strong at home, but they don't have Hanko Hammerscheis. He's with the Eagles, big flanker, big boy. Probably Austin's biggest force to be reckoned with, but I think their fly half is a great decision maker. I think that's Timothy Guillamine. We've had more losses with the calls up in Seattle, so I think this is going to be an interesting match.
Same here. So as we said, Austin have a perfect record of home, 3 from 3. They've beaten New Orleans, Nola Gold, San Diego Legion, and Utah Warriors. So they've beaten the 4th, 5th, and 6th, i.e. the 3 places beneath them in the table. They've yet to beat either of the sides above them, i.e. Raptors or Seawolves. But this is the first time they actually had one of those at home. I'm going the Seawolves by 3 because I think the Seawolves have shown they can do it. But as you say, not only is their head coach out of the country and not allowed back in with visa issues, now they've gone and lost their acting head coach as well as players. Whereas Austin don't have that issue around the coaching, at least. They have also lost players, and they do have a perfect home record. Normally, I would have gone for Austin, but I do think the top 2 in this league are a step ahead above the rest, and hence why I'm going to get back Seattle by 3.
Yeah, I think Austin is pretty uninterrupted by any changes this last week that a lot of other teams have seen. So it's going to be interesting,
It is, and then we come down to a key matchup because if those first 2 go the way that we have suggested, with the top teams winning and the chasing pack in Utah, with Utah who aren't playing, but in Austin losing, then this is a great chance for either Nola Gold or San Diego Legion to catch up. San Diego are travelling to New Orleans in this one, and to give you an idea, so New Orleans have won 1 game at home and won 1 game away, but both those wins have been over Houston SaberCats. They've yet to beat anybody else, and I think that's. I think I mentioned before that they have a minus 72 points difference for Nola. It's not looking good for them, is it?
No, but you look again. So this is Legion visiting in New Orleans, and I think the home field advantage in that kind of climate. San Diego gets warm, but it's not very humid, and the humidity in New Orleans is pretty intense. And my team that I pay close attention to really had trouble down in New Orleans. That was like a 2-point game that they won. That said, I think Legion's really been struggling this season. And I'll go through it in a bit, but they also lost a lot of players to this Eagles call-up. And, already having a tough time, putting wins on the board in San Diego, losing all those players is going to be pretty disruptive for them, I think.
So San Diego, I found this one really hard to call. They've had 2 wins. Both the home wins have been at home. They've won. They're another team with a perfect home record. They've lost all of their away games. They're also a team in San Diego is where the USA Sevens setup is, and they do have a close relationship with them, and they do borrow players from there. Now the USA Sevens are playing in Paris this weekend. So are those players available to them? Or any of those players available, or are all those players away in Paris for the HSB Sevens World Tour stop, I'm not sure. So there's a lot of things that are going on there around, as you say, losing players to the Eagles, maybe not having the support of the Sevens program that they normally get, and having not won away yet. So
I think that Sevens tournament this weekend, that's not even something that was on my radar, but it definitely should be when considering what's going to happen in this match. I think my prediction reflects what could still be the result of that big of a loss. I've got the Gold by 21.
Ouch. Wow. I've got San Diego by 3.
Really?
Yeah, we're totally on different ballpark here.
Oh, we should definitely dive into this. Well, let's talk about their losses that we know of for the call-ups on the 15 side. So they're losing their center, Audsley, their scrum half, Augsburger, their fly half, Sema, their number 8, Dolan, their lock, Mahoney, and their wing, Mattias. That's half the roster. I mean,
okay, now maybe I'm maybe you've got me now thinking, oh dear, I'm in real trouble, and I've gone the wrong way here. As I say, I've not been doing it on looking at the players' side of things. I've been doing it on kind of on form and the big picture. And New Orleans have only beaten the last team in the league. They've not beaten anybody else above that. That minus 72. There've been some big losses. And
sure.
And so that's basically how I'm judging this one on. And so they lost to Glendale Raptors by 37. They lost to the Seawolves by 29. They lost to the Austin Elite by 13. And admittedly, the home game against the Seawolves was only a 2-point loss. But yeah, last time out against the Raptors, a 37-point loss. That's a
big scoreline.
That's a big scoreline, 10-47. So yeah, I just think they're probably going to be struggling with morale. And teams do get into a losing or a winning habit. And I think they've probably got a bit of a losing habit here.
Yeah. Obviously, you're keeping the big picture and form in mind, which, depending on how things go this weekend, might be the way I look at things moving forward. But if my predictions aren't crazy with the results, it'll be interesting to look at how things work out for NOLA having, a losing habit when they didn't lose any players to call-ups. They don't have any sort of disruption to their team cohesiveness and chemistry, but I mean, they're all out there training, so you lose guys, and there's people that have been ready to fill in. But I do have this as a big scoreline over San Diego, so we will have to see what happens there.
You do, and that's a very big scoreline you've gone by.
It might have to be the headline on this.
And maybe you're right. But I guess some of the decision making, some of the errors that we saw out of NOLA last weekend were very disappointing. I remember some of their kicking was particularly poor. You can't be kicking out in the full and things like that when you're not kicking from your own 22. So decision making was a problem for them. I can remember. I haven't seen San Diego. I think had a bye last weekend. So
bye week's not good for teams. It hasn't been good for teams in MLR.
So I was going to say they'll be more rested going into this.
Well, they will be, but on the other hand, it just hasn't really worked out for any team so far. The thing with the Gold is I'm pretty sure they have JP Eloff back, who is their not only stalwart at, I believe, inside center, but he's also a really good kicker. So he will definitely, if NOLA finds themselves on their heels in this match having to catch up, he'll be able to keep the scoreline closer than the big differential that they've had historically so far.
Yeah, JP Eloff was back last weekend at 10.
Yeah.
And there were times where it looked like he was just going, geez, guys, this is all messing up. I'm just going to try and do everything myself. And
which is not how rugby works. So.
Not how rugby works. And so there were times where you saw various NOLA players going, right, all my teammates are kind of dropping the ball. I'm I'm going to do this myself now, and that's, and yeah, that doesn't work. And they've got to get out of that mindset and improve. And there were quite a few errors during that. It wasn't the best of games between Nola and Raptors last weekend. To be fair,
I think it wasn't. I think Howden and Elof are a really good 10-12 pairing. I just think that Howden needs to step it up on his defense as a center if Elof's at 10. It's something that, a guy like Howden, who I think might be sort of more towards the twilight end of his career, just needs to try and hold on to some ability there, because you need centers to step up on defense from the back line, right? I mean, I'm a halfback / back three guy, and I know all about not making tackles, but at center it's a little different.
No, you're right. He does look like kind of the elder statesman in that side, trying to be the general leading around the pitch. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it didn't last weekend, unfortunately. Cool. Right. So those are our predictions for this weekend's games. I will be doing live post-match reaction to one of the first two. I haven't decided which one yet. Are you going to be down the brewery again doing your show?
I will be. Yeah, I'm sure Tony and I will link up at Postdoc Brewing. For anybody that wants to check that out, just what we do, it's at SeawolfPod.com, covering the Seattle Seawolves.
And yeah, get down to Postdoc Brewing. If you are in Seattle, they get a very good turnout watching those games, and the beer looks good too. I wish I could have a taste of it. But there we go. I've been Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul. Always up for good old rugby chats. Please put your comments down below. Let me know your thoughts as to how you think these games are going to go. Don't forget to hit the old like button. And please do subscribe for more content. I'll be trying to get Raymond on every week for the rest of the season. And then
Thanks for having me, Paul.
Thank you for joining me. And catch you all later.